pirates. "Byron, you there?" Franklin asks as Bearman answers his communicator. The man sounds exhausted. "Weren't you recovering from getting your face chewed off?" "I woke up 3 minutes ago and there was a note you needed to be called." "So you're being called. What's going on?" Sneaking into the system. They're either in a stolen ship or have a stolen transponder." "Oh, do you think they have adepts?" "I don't know." "All right, where are they touching down? I'll be nearby in case they decide to start throwing fireballs or something." Franklin asks. "Just go back to sleep. I know how to use Axiom, and most adepts don't have disruption needles ready to use on their opponents." "True, that... Wait, just tell me where you're going. I'll send you some to use." "What's up?" Franklin says. "Better yet, focus your Axiom halfway into a teleport and fluctuate it every 2 seconds. I'll send them to you now." "What?" "Send up an Axiom flare, I'll send you some toys." Franklin finishes and Bearman sighs. "What are you sending?" "A dozen disruption needles. You should remember those." "I remember being stabbed in the chest with one," Byron says as he holds his hands out and begins causing the Axiom to flow as Franklin instructed. "Now you're the stabber." Franklin says, "All right, I think I got you. I'm sending a small piece of paper as a test to make sure I'm not handing this off to a 4-year-old or something." "All right," Bearman says, and a piece of paper warps into his hand with a blast of Axiom. "Little heavy on the power there, but I have small piece of paper, triangular, 2 sides are straight and 1 is torn ragged." "Good, I got the right person then. Stand by for the needles," Franklin says, and Byron feels Axiom swell around him, and then a series of thin Kutha spikes fall into his hand. They have a blue rubber band around them and seem innocuous enough, but Bearman can feel the disruption effect already. "Phew, how does this actually work? The effects are randomizing across all of them. It's weird," Byron states. "Oh, it's something I got from computer coding. They're called logic gates, which are several basic commands you can put into a system to make it simulate thinking. If this, then do that, stop, go, reset, and finally OR, which introduces percentage chances into things. Those needles start out with a synchronize effect and run a person's Axiom through themselves, which afterwards is a massive sequence of ORing code, which means it keeps shifting as each OR leads into another OR at random, which goes on to another OR. And since the pattern keeps shifting, it disrupts whatever patterns the person stuck with the needle is using. There are too many possibilities for anyone not a Gravi or synth to actually memorize all the patterns, and they shift so fast that it would be a full-time job to keep up. Easier to just rip it out, Bearman notes, which occupies at least a hand for a moment and gives you time to attack while all their defenses are down. It's not a permanent solution, but it can and will end a fight with an adept, Franklin says. Unless the adept is half a ton of raw muscle, claws, and fangs, Byron says with a grin. Or armed to begin with and liable to just shoot you, Franklin replies. Anyways, I still feel like I tried to grab a running chainsaw with my teeth, so I'm going to get some more typical bed rest. Ouch. Did you see anything in that other direction? Bearman asks, curious despite himself. He had availed himself of the rumors, but they sounded like pure fantasy. Just a vague impression of what was attacking me, which had lots of teeth and vaguely reminded me of a fish. Beyond that, white, a white void, which is of little use beyond confirming that there is another direction and there are predators within it preventing its use in standard locations, which, while interesting, isn't very useful in the here and now. Kinda spooky. Do you want to know what else is spooky? Franklin asks. I don't know, do I? The bits of me that were torn off were recovered. That thing, whatever it was, spat out the chunks it got. It doesn't eat meat, but it wanted some part of me. Hey, thank you. I was worried I might actually sleep tonight. Bearman jokes, and the snort of amusement from the other side tells him that Franklin got it, and he has his nose back. Yeah, right, you're tougher than that. Think you'll need anything else? Franklin asks. Honestly, the needles are probably overkill. I've already got my little lair set up ready, and am just waiting for the so-called daring dart to land, Byron says. All right, happy hunting. I'm crawling into some cotton sheets and under a comforter, Franklin says with a yawn. Have a good day, Bearman bids him and ends the call. He then tosses the bundle of extremely useful and potent anti-adept hardware in his hand and nods. There was apparently some technique to throwing the things. He'll have to get some needles made out of iron so he doesn't damage these ones while he practices. Being able to just shut down Axiom users without potentially nulling yourself is just too damn useful to ignore. His setup isn't very impressive looking, just an easily transported computer terminal. Humans called them laptops, and his tools tucked into his belt. He wasn't even hiding, just lounging on a roof as if he was just bored out of his mind. He even had some music playing as he laid in wait for his prey to descend from the heavens. And descend they do. Not in a Meccan Corvette, as the MC had caused him to assume, but a Tyrant Streaker. So that's 2 fake transponders they have. He vaguely wonders how many more he would find. No one to greet us? That's almost rude, the boss lady says as her girl on the scanner shrugs. Closest seems to be some Canador bull playing games on his computer. Other than that, he's just basking in the sunlight. Typical of the fuzzies. No, I mean he's a full-size bull, as big as Canadors get before they're unusually large or augmented. The building he's on probably has his children and mates inside, and he's both standing guard and getting some alone time. Really? Well, that is a lot of man. But we're here for a reason. Eye candy later. First things first is get past security and then check the old stashes. We need to see how much we have to work with, the boss says before pressing the all-call button for shipwide announcements. Remember your new names, girls. If one of you screws up, we follow the rule of deny, deny, and deny. There's a loud enough response, she hears it through their bulkheads. Perfect. Touchdown in 10, 9, 8. Her pilot begins counting down, and at the end of the list is a small, soft jolt that would only spill the most overfull drink around. All right, Captain, all systems are a go. It's Captain Meters now, just like you're now Pilot Wren. Stick to it, Captain Meters says, and Pilot Wren nods. Before we go, Captain, the nearest cache isn't far away. It's the 17th, one of the underwater hideaways. The girl on the scanner says her new fake ID is Technician Amy. Perfect. From what I understand, most of New Rulers here are terrestrial, so the land-bound caches are likely busted, but there's good odds on the underwater ones, Captain Meters says. Let's hope so, Captain. What we're doing is risky as is. Which is why we're not going to do anything until we're absolutely sure. You don't try and spear a fish you think is there, you wait until you know, Captain Meters advises as she starts leading her bridge crew out of the ship. Hanuma sisters, you two are to guard the ship. We're going to be checking on some supply caches after talking down the locals. Don't let anyone on, make whatever excuses you need. She orders, and the 2 Kruger bruisers nod at that. The very well-muscled ape, like women, take positions to either side of the door, and the crew starts to leave. Before they've even fully left, one of them has pulled out her communicator and started playing some kind of game, while the other has pulled out a snack. Is there no one? Captain Meters begins before pausing as she hears someone cough. Right, sorry, I just don't like the feel of my clothing heating up on the insides. A Cloakin says, and Captain Meters' eyes go wide. So you mentioned you were low on supplies. All right, we have 4 Manyenmi, a pair of Snikt, a Fili, 2 Kuga, and a trinity of Trets for a crew. The Manyenmi clearly have been having consistent diets as they're all dark blue with no sign of shifting colors. Byron notes to himself as he watches them speak with, well, a GPS tells him that there's a cloak in there, but he sure can't see her, nor sense her at this range. They were obvious up close, but at any distance beyond arm's reach, a cloakin was usually perfectly hidden. And away they go, Mar, Bearman mutters as he watches the group be led off. The 4 Manyenmi clearly in charge and familiar enough with the area to walk with confidence. Something was up, but his interest was the ship, and he was fairly sure there were other watchers in the area. He has to trust that they're going to do their job as he does his. Speaking of, the enormous Canador puts his computer on standby and rises up. A few steps on all fours and he runs Axiom through himself and the roof he's from. It's hard to get a good jump when you shatter the platform you're leaping off of. A coiling of his rear legs and he's hurtling through the air to the ship. One of the scariest things about Canador that everyone keeps forgetting about is just how damn quiet they can be. His pads muffle his impact onto the top of the vessel to nearly nothing. He slinks along under the main communication array and quickly pulls out a tiny device. He takes a few moments to calibrate it and places it up against the system. A bit of axiom sensing, a slight phasing, and it's in. No seams, no damage, no problem. He slinks off the ship and starts dashing away. An axiom jump on the ship isn't so much as pushing one's luck as open-handed slapping circumstance and daring it to have a go at you. He reaches the side of the building he was on and climbs up the fire escape and slinks back over to the computer. A few quick taps, a bit of a loading time. And here we are, right into the ship's network. Most of the crew is off, so a little system reboot and a few quick presses causes it to boot from the computer instead. And now I'm in, he says as he quickly runs a few programs and nods. He then resets things to normal and then inputs the programs his password finder programs had supplied him with. Oh, hello, Miss Amarata Vakis. I'm sure you're rather upset that your family has lost so much. After losing the tail of the Cloakin, they do a search of jobs and make a lot of non-committal sounds before heading to the beach for a bit of fresh water on the tentacles, while the more land-bound part of her crew keep things going. The moment she hits the water, Amarata leads her other 3 high-ranking crew members down and deep. The way the islands of Vuxa are formed means there's a lot of places to hide underwater bases. There are almost as many deep-water trenches as shorelines on the planet. So, of course, there's a few places they've hidden goodies, just in case a disaster like this happened. You don't get into power by being stupid. The doorway isn't. Or rather, it's not something that opens. Her hands touch a self-restoring piece of Kutha, and she channels Axiom. Then she's suddenly on the other side and in a much darker place. The walls glow ever so slightly as she swims to the side. She's in the base. It's one of the aquatic-only bases and thankfully seems intact, undiscovered, and ready for its proper use. Cousin, get into the computer. I want to see the very day that these invaders came to our homeworld and set up shop. She orders and the distant family member swims to the hydro-adapted console. It's time to get some answers, then afterwards others can answer for what they've done.